Today on Talking Solutions, moving and fitness, this is the time of the year where people start thinking about making changes. Maybe you can do that too. With us in studio, Peter Pinto with Fit Life Fusion, the owner, you're the creator.
Yes, it's a 3,000 square foot fitness facility on the corner of Flamingo and Durango, and we're the only neurology-driven fitness facility in Las Vegas that I know of, at least within the fitness realm.
This is why one of my coworkers here at the Beasley mentioned Fit Life Fusion to me, because of the different approach that you take. And it is nice that you're right down Durango, so you were able to spin up and join us today. Peter, you talk about neurology-driven fitness. I have a neurologist, love my neurologist, and I also love doing things as far as fitness is concerned. But by putting the two together, can you explain to the person who's listening to our discussion today what exactly that involves?
Sure. The difference between what a neurologist would do and somebody who's focused on neurology within fitness is a neurologist, they look at the different functions of the brain and they'll test many, many different things to figure out, is this person sick? Is there something diagnosable? And they're looking for things like lesions. We do a lot of the same tests that a neurologist would do, like different sensory tests, visual testing, eye testing, vestibular testing, which is like your equilibrium. And we're trying to relate that to where are your shortcomings in performance? Are you looking to get stronger, or are you having pain issues? And if there's something that needs activation somewhere in these neurological pathways or in the brain mapping systems, as we call it, if there's something that has been neglected for a while because of maybe sedentary lifestyle or stress, then we go in there and say, you didn't test so well on this, so let's do these exercises or these drills to try to activate that pathway a little bit, and people see immediate results. And it's got a lot of wow factor.
Exciting when stuff like that happens.
Yeah.
Over the years, I think a lot of us have gotten involved with different gyms and things here in town. You may have a personal trainer who will help you set up a program. I haven't found a lot of diagnosis as part of that. It's more, what are you looking to achieve? And I tell that trainer, and then they say, I can help you do that. Let me set up some exercises. But there's not that step that you're referring to where you find out where I might have some difficulties and finding out how you can help me maximize that.
Right. It's a difficult world that we live in because people get so much information from the internet. There are so many books out there, so many do-it-yourself type of things out there. So what happens when people go to a trainer, they usually know what they want, and they tell that trainer what they want.
Right.
And they say, hey, you're fit, you know how to put together programs and whatnot. I want to look like this in this amount of time, and I think you should also write the program so I don't have to do exercises like this, but I do focus on more exercises like that. Because of that, it's really hard for trainers to do what they believe they know is right. So a lot of the time, what we're doing is we use our evaluation process, which is called the NeuroFlow assessment, a 90-minute to 3-hour process where we're testing all kinds of stuff. And in the process, people are seeing, wow, I do have a few shortcomings here or there that I could work on. And because of that, they're now in a position where they say, Peter, you're the expert here, you and your staff. Why don't you give me a better understanding of what I really should be doing? And so it gives us this opportunity to build some really great rapport with people and do some amazing things.
Peter Pinto is with us, and we're talking about overall fitness and your different way of approaching it with Fit Life Fusion. You were talking about this diagnosis where you get to know any client where they need extra help. My issue, balance is a problem. I may come to you and say, well, I want to work on those abs and I want to do this. But through your evaluation process, pretty quickly, I would imagine you discover that I got some issues when it comes to balance and I could use some help in that area.
Absolutely. Now, just a small disclaimer, doctors diagnose, we trainers, we evaluate or assess. So when people do come in for the NeuroFlow assessment, we'll check things like your vestibular system, which is your equilibrium. It's telling your brain which way is up and which way you're going all the time. And something that commonly occurs and people don't have much knowledge of is this thing we call mismatch information. You have 3 systems within your nervous system: your visual system, your vestibular system, and then what we call the proprioceptive mapping system, which is the information provided to the brain by all the peripheral nerves everywhere else in the body. Sometimes it can be due to a stressful event, maybe head trauma, playing a specific sport for a long period of time growing up, being sedentary, what have you. The information from these 3 systems can become mismatched. That's a really threatening thing to the brain. And so it will start to make it so your body gears itself up for survival, worries more about falling than worrying about performing well or catching that ball or being able to run and jump and play and things like that. Things that we'd all be able to do whenever we want to call upon it. So in the NeuroFlow evaluation, we're trying to figure out balance-wise, what parts of your nervous system are not really communicating accurately to the brain, and how can we clear that up through exercise, eye drills, head and eye positions, balance and coordination drills, stuff like that.
Some of the stuff that I found really exciting as far as physical therapy is concerned, and I'm a huge believer, I think physical therapy is magic. I love it. But I find that when you have a shortcoming, if there's something that maybe you are lacking in abilities or you haven't really performed to the extent that you could with the proper training, it's like your body is creating these shortcuts where if I've got a balance issue or something like that, my body will help me compensate. But that's not really the ideal. The ideal, I would think, would be just fix the situation so that I can perform at my fullest and not let my brain go, oh, I know a way around this.
Right. In fact, one of the problems people don't realize they're dealing with is you could be dealing with some sort of funky movement pattern that's causing the distribution of force through the way that you walk, the way that you move, to create a whole lot of friction in specific joints. And these funky movement patterns can eventually end up in stuff like inflammation, then the degeneration of tissue in these joints, pain, and then finally injury. We focus on movement first. That's the number one thing. Most people just don't move enough. And because of that, they have what we consider these blurry spots on their brain map, their movement maps. So if you think of movement like vocabulary, a lot of people are walking into our gym and they have a very limited movement vocabulary. And yet most people, when they go to other gyms, they're run through the gamut.
Right. You got this. Let me set you up with a program. You'll be fine.
Right. And your brain is designed, it's hardwired for survival, not for performance. So your brain cares more about you falling as opposed to you sticking the landing on a box jump or something like that and then catching the ball. That's why doing these very highly coordinated things for people who have not been very active to just hop into some sort of boot camp class can be very dangerous. 48% of people injure themselves training to the point where they can't train any longer. Half the people, red light or green light, you're going to go in and you're going to hit one of those buttons. We at least feel we have a system that can identify what path you're on.
We've got Peter Pinto in from Fit Life Fusion. We're talking about movement or the lack thereof. And this has been something that we've discussed over the past year. You're right. People don't move the way that they should. The fear of falling, I can tell you personally, that's my number one fear. Because of that, I said, I know how to keep from falling. I just won't move.
Right.
And then I found out that in truth, if you are not moving, you're actually increasing the risk of falling.
Absolutely.
So it's like this catch-22 thing. I'm not going to fall because I'm not going to move. Well, guess what? If you don't move, you're more likely to fall. And that can be a huge problem, especially among people as they get older. You always hear about people breaking a hip. It's not just an issue for older individuals, though.
Absolutely. It's an issue for everyone. If people cared more about the quality of their movement, it would be so much easier for people to get in shape, lose weight, be strong, and avoid injury. I'll give you a perfect example. Most people have experienced this at one point in time in their life where they roll their ankle and sprain it. What happens if, let's say, you step on some sort of unlevel surface? As your ankle rolls out, it surprises your brain because it wasn't ready for that. Your brain says, uh-oh, I'm going into some uncharted territory here. And that unfamiliar range of motion creates this really threatening state for the brain. In the brain, there is a reflex that you have that fires off when something like that happens to pull you back to a familiar range.
And I always go too far when I react to that.
Yeah.
And I go back too far.
It's designed to overreact. In fact, the contraction can be so great that that is what tears the tissue. That's what sprains the ankle, not the range of motion. It's not that you took your ankle and rolled it out so far that the tissue tore. It's you rolled your ankle, your brain said, uh-oh, I'm going out somewhere I'm not used to.
I'm not comfortable with this.
It pulls you back via the reflex, and that reflex, the pull, is what actually tears the tissue. That's what creates the sprain. It's a lack of familiarity. It's a lack of clarity in the brain map of all these ranges of motion that you want to have. If you don't have that familiarization, that clarity, that's where injury happens.
First show of the new year today here on Talking Solutions. The fact is, people don't move enough. I was mentioning some of the conversations we've had over the past year, like the falls. It's almost an epidemic. There are so many people falling every year, the injuries, the monetary impact, the health impact. Also discussions in the past year with UNLV's physical therapy department and an ongoing study with people with Parkinson's to implement more movement to see how that affects the progression of the disease. Because we believe in the work that we've done with Parkinson's with UNLV physical therapy, that movement is actually very beneficial, that it can slow those debilitating effects of a disease like Parkinson's, in my case, like multiple sclerosis, and that the movement is so beneficial in helping to slow all of those things that have come upon us that we're so scared of in the first place. That movement can help also. And I've talked with the Southern Nevada Health District about our epidemic problem with type 2 diabetes and our diet and lifestyle issues. Movement is beneficial in all all of these areas, helping to slow progression and helping to prevent things like type 2 through changes in your diet and your lifestyle. But it all comes back to that central theme. We need to start moving. That's what we've got to do.
Absolutely agree.
It's so important for every stage of life. You hear about things like NFL Play 60. Even sports leagues are talking about the fact that we've got to get our kids active because things like video games, smartphones, and all of this makes kids more sedentary.
You make a great point talking about video games. Just to give you a great example of how video games can cause an issue with kids and their coordination. When you're watching something on TV or when you're playing video games, your brain is taking in all this information through your eyes and it's actually reacting to it. In fact, just sitting down and watching a movie, when things explode or things move quickly to the left side of the screen, your body is reacting, engaging all of these things, and actually firing off all these neural pathways in your brain to react as if you were going to move because of what's happening on the screen. If your kid plays a video game, he watches the screen. As these things are happening on the screen, he has to react. But instead of reacting with his body as it's designed to, he's now retraining his reflexes to react with his hands, with his fingers, his thumbs. And that can create all kinds of different eye teaming and coordination problems. It can create balance problems. It can start to impede their ability to read and focus their eyes on two-dimensional things, like words on a piece of paper. What I always tell parents is, if they play video games, it's fine. But after that, they need to have a 5 to 10 minute movement session. Just get up, move around a little bit, play catch with the ball, something. Watching TV for a while, fine. Get up, move around. So if you at least limit the time, hey, only an hour on the iPad. And then after that, we're going to go do something. Anything. Play catch with the ball, kick around a soccer ball, do handstands, squats, something like that in the living room. That at least will offset some of these issues.
Balance it.
Right. You have to have some sort of balance. Otherwise, you're going to start training your body to function in the way it's not designed to function.
Balance is a great word for so many reasons.
Yeah. We use the term balance in neurology pretty often.
Peter Pinto is with us. I certainly think that the neurology-driven fitness that you emphasize at Fit Life Fusion is the sort of thing that could help all of us. How is the best way to do it? For instance, in my situation, I've got a little bit of a balance issue. That's going to affect the way that I move. But the session that you start out with when you get to know a new client, what exactly happens? Can you tell me when I come to you?
Absolutely. The way that we start with people, we bring them what we call an R phase, which is a term we take from Z Health, which is the neurological educational company that our trainers have been certified through. The R stands for a few things: restoring mobility, and we're also re-educating the nervous system. It's a very move it or lose it, right? Use it or lose it type of thing.
That's so true.
Most people don't realize they've lost a lot of these ranges of motion. They're no longer familiar, so they try to get right back into it, and they'll hurt themselves pretty quickly because though their brain remembers how to move like this, how to move like that, it's no longer prepared for the speed and the weight you're about to throw into it. This is when injury happens. So we just start people off by very basic movements. It might be just doing little circles or figure eights at every little joint, almost like teaching people the ABCs so that they can do larger movements, which would be like putting words together with those letters. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
It's just taking people through the basics, joint by joint, and then going and showing them how to incorporate those into the exercises everybody already knows, like a squat, a lunge, a push-up, a pull-up.
You come up with a program and you say, here's what we're going to do in your case?
Yes, we'll come up with a program for each individual. And after the evaluation, we choose a few different exercises for their eyes, different balance and coordination exercises, and some basic mobility drills to start the re-education process. Then we start to apply those to the basic exercises like squatting and push-ups and things like that, and then moving into more complex movements where they might be adding in rotation or two different types of lifts, one right after the other.
What do you say to a person who says, I'm stressed?
Most people don't realize how much stress is on their body due to either a lack of movement or, as I said before, funky movement patterns that may have sprouted up from old injuries or the way that they've been moving or the shoes that they're wearing. And so most people, when they start doing this, you just start slow. You just start somewhere. I've never understood the person who has said to me, well, I'm an all or nothing kind of person. For me, if you're halfway into it, it's still something compared to nothing. And we always help people stay the path and just continue to make a little bit of progress as long as they are somewhere in. Because you don't have to be all in or all out. You just have to be somewhat in all the time. And if you do that and stay consistent, you'll start making progress.
When we were talking about use it or lose it a few minutes ago, that's so true. And it's pretty darn exciting when you're doing a physical therapy type program and you find out you can do stuff that you didn't think you could do anymore. That's where you go.
That can happen in minutes.
Yes.
It really can. Physical therapy and performance training, in our eyes, are the exact same thing. The human body is the human body. And the same things that I would do for somebody who is possibly dealing with Parkinson's or MS or MSA or some sort of neurological disease, or somebody maybe just in pain trying to get out and get stronger again so they can feel normal, versus an elite level athlete who wants to take one of their lifts and make it 20 pounds stronger. It's all still the same. We're looking to see where are the gaps in the map and then what drills can we use to fill them in. And the same thing that might get someone out of, let's say, frozen shoulder is the same thing that might help a strongman get his overhead press from 375 to 415 pounds. Those are two really serious extremes, but that's an actual example that I've worked with in the past.
So it's actually simple answers. We're not moving enough.
Right.
We need to move. We need to make sure that we're doing it effectively, which is why your evaluation process at Fit Life Fusion is so helpful, because it helps me. If I'm going to take 10 minutes, 20 minutes to do this 3 times a week, I'm going to do it correctly. It's really important, because I would think if I don't move correctly and I keep doing it in my own wrong self fashion, I could aggravate something, make it worse. I need somebody who knows what they're doing to show me how to do it, and it's not that hard.
It all boils down to awareness. How aware your brain is of your body in the space you're in. If we really simplified it, people walk in, we're evaluating where are the gaps in their map. What can we do to fill those gaps in? And once we do that, now you're moving better, now you deal with less pain, and you're getting stronger. That's a formula for the weight loss that you want, for the pain relief that you want, the strength that you want to gain, the new sport you want to take up, or hobby, what have you.
Whatever it is. A good start would be to go to your website, fitlifefusion.com.
Yes, fitlifefusion.com.
There's a lot of stuff on there. You've got multimedia, you've got videos and all kinds of things.
We have a great blog. We have some great articles. We have a lot of videos. We're also on Periscope. Find me on Periscope at Peter Pinto MMA. I like to call myself the only fitness show on Periscope.
Periscope is kind of new in case you're not familiar with it. Periscope is an app where you can be part of a live audience.
A live broadcast.
You're able to interact.
As I'm talking, people are actually shooting texts to me, and I'm responding to people just firing questions left and right. And we're answering a lot of these questions and helping a lot of people out at one time. And
in real time.
It's nice to be able to really have that interaction and some instant gratification for people right then and there.
Peter Pinto with Fit Life Fusion. Somebody is wanting to get more active. 2016, this is my year. I'm going to get up. I'm going to move. If they reach out to you and they say, I would really like for you to tell me the best way to move more, is there a commitment involved here? What exactly do they do?
There's no commitment, no obligation. You can come in for a free consultation. We'll sit down with them and figure out whether we're a good fit. I hear a little bit of their story and what you're dealing with, and then I can show them different options, how we could help them specifically with their problem. We can map it all out, and sometimes some issues are one evaluation long, and people walk out and they have things that they can go and practice. Sometimes people come in and sign up for months at a time so that they can start working on the end goal with us. It's very individual, and we do things on a one-on-one basis, and we also do things in a group setting. Some people who need a little bit more attention will get that one-on-one coaching. Sometimes they'll get a combination of one-on-one coaching and then joining the classes. And then we have people who don't have maybe a whole lot of pain issues or movement issues that they want to address individually, and they like being in a class setting, and they like the camaraderie of having people there also going through some of the same things, having similar goals, and working toward that together. It's a whole lot of fun.
They can fire each other up. Right. I'm going to get to our goal before you do.
We also have an event every month called the Monthly Move. It's only $15. They come in and they get a great introduction to what neurology and fitness is. It's about a 90-minute event. We start off by warming people up, giving them a maybe 10 to 15-minute lesson of the day of how we apply neurology and fitness. Then we move, and we'll show them how to use some of these unique neurological-driven exercises in exercise that everyone knows. And then after that, usually a healthy restaurant from our network of health caters it.
The neurology-driven approach that you have with Fit Life Fusion. Did you come up with this on your own? How did it happen?
I can't say I came up with it on my own, but I have been blessed in this life to find some incredible mentors, one of which being Dr. Eric Cobb, who is a pioneer in the field of neuroscience. He owns a company called Z Health, which is an educational company. So I've been in classrooms that Dr. Cobb had been instructing with doctors, physical therapists, department heads. I was actually sitting in class next to a department head of Duke.
Whoa.
It's really incredible information. I think we all believe it's the future of fitness. The brain is the governing system of the body. Nothing in your body does anything without your brain telling you to do so. So if there's focus on anything but that, we feel there's a lot of effort lost.
Let your brain be a part of all of this.
It's the boss. It's not just the part of it.
That's right.
It's the boss. So if you're not focused on the boss.
We're just trying to put the word out that as we start this new year and as you're looking into doing something good for yourself, movement is right at the top of the list.
Right.
We all need to move more for so many reasons. It could be a health condition. It could be preventing one. It could be that you're just not moving enough. As we said, use it or lose it. Let's not lose those faculties that we have. If you have kids, you need to move as a family. But this is not that difficult.
Sometimes all people need are somewhere between 4 and 7 minutes a day, and you don't necessarily have to do it every day. It just depends on what your goals are and the speed at which you want to achieve those goals. It might be something where, yes, if you want to change your day around a little bit, it might be scheduling some time to play with the kids. It might be putting a little bit of effort into thinking of how can I do it so that we all benefit from this movement session a little bit more. I'd like to say one of the biggest mistakes people make when it comes to setting a goal and achieving that goal for their New Year resolution is we forget that the brain is designed for survival, not performance. And I said that a little while ago. So there are two things that your brain needs. Two things. And those two things are fuel and activation. Today we're focusing a lot on the activation part, which is the movement. Movement, balance, coordination. This is all activation within your nervous system. And then the fueling part is obviously what we're eating, what we're putting in our body. Biggest issue that people have when they start their New Year's resolution is they start activating more and fueling less. And what ends up happening is when you start moving more and eating less is you create this very stressful state on your body, and your body, again, designed for survival, not for performance, is going to tell you to take the path of least resistance, which means, hey, this is really stressful. Please go back to doing what you were doing last month. It was so much easier. I like that stuff.
Yeah.
It's not dangerous and threatening. Please go back to that. And this urge becomes so great that people are forced to quit by their own biology.
Wow. Peter Pinto with us from Fit Life Fusion today on Talking Solutions. You know that I've got a huge interest in nutrition. So I know that, and I'm always trying to get the word out and to share the information about how important it is to eat and eat properly. It's not that hard, but it sounds like the fitness and the activity where we're moving, that also is not that hard.
It's not as hard, especially when you have a professional who can evaluate your specific issues. And once you have that information and you have a start point, then it becomes a whole lot easier. Without a good start point, it's very difficult. You just kind of shotgun effect it, and it's really difficult to measure your results. So even if you didn't have somebody to evaluate, just a little bit of movement. Honestly, picking up a new sport, a martial art, something different, giving yourself the goal of slowly getting better at it. You don't have to make the goal, I need this physical result out of it. Just go and say, I'm going to start something new, and my goal is to get better at it. If you do that, your body will adapt to this new challenge that you've put before it. That is one of the easiest ways. So whether you're coming through my doors and you're training with us and you're doing all of this cool neuro stuff and all these little drills that enhance your neurological mapping systems, right? Or you take up Tai Chi and you just focus on getting better at Tai Chi, or I'm going to play ping pong, or I'm going to play tennis, and I'm going to slowly work myself into becoming slightly more athletic than I was the day before. Those are the things that can be incredibly easy little things people can do to start making huge differences in the way they feel, the way they move, the way they look.
One of the things that I've discovered over time, too, is that as far as my nutrition angle, I can give you the information. I can make you aware of what is good for you to do and not to do. You can have all the information in the world, but if you're not self-motivated to change, you're not going to change. A lot of people know it's not good to eat this or that. They already have that knowledge, but I always say until something clicks in your own head and you go, I, for myself, am doing this, that's when change occurs. Just like the movement aspect. We all know that we need to move. You're saying, Peter Pinto, that it's not that hard, that it doesn't have to be an overwhelming effort, that it can be a small change that makes a big difference.
Absolutely. There's something that we talk about at Fit Life Fusion very often. The motor learning theory, the theory of how many repetitions it takes for something to begin to embed itself into your nervous system. Now, the first 1 to 1,000 repetitions is called the cognitive phase. These are the reps that it takes for you to really think through to get this new habit into your lifestyle, 1 to 1,000. Then 1,000 to 10,000 is the associative stage, where you're starting to associate some of these things and they're becoming a little bit more automatic, and there are still other parts that you have to focus on. Now, there's a giant jump to the autonomous phase, which is the automatic phase. It's like how Tiger Woods swings a golf club. You don't have to think about it. You look at the target and you just get it there. This is 100,000 to 300,000 repetitions. And the reason why the jump is so big is due to human error. We feel that with a little bit of guidance, with a way to evaluate and continue to reevaluate throughout your training, throughout your efforts, that you can cut all of these numbers in half. You can make something that people say the 10,000 hour rule, we could cut that in half to 5,000 hours, meaning you might be able to do things that you never thought possible within a 1 to 2 year span that you would believe takes people 5 to 10 years to do. One of the things about dieting when we talk about nutrition is if we take those numbers and we apply it to nutrition, if you ate 10 meals a day, that's 10 repetitions. So one thing that you can keep in mind whenever you're doing anything is you just have to do it and know that it's going to take you 3-4 months to get good at. That's okay. And if you're doing these things, whether it's movement, whether it's trying to change your diet, whether it's trying to change a habit into your lifestyle, you have to get through those first 500 to 1,000 repetitions before it starts to feel easy. And while you're doing that, cut yourself a break. Take it easy a little bit. Just continue to march along that path little by little and give yourself a little bit of slack. If you make some mistakes, if you feel stressed out, that's fine. At least accept that and then stay true to the goal.
Don't give up.
Right.
Is the main thing. Well, when it's not that difficult, you talk about the repetition phase, and I know that as far as me and physical therapy, there are certain things that we do as far as the way I move my left foot. And it seems impossible until they show me these easy tricks. And you practice and you do it daily. At some point in time, if you stay with it, it will become the norm. I've got the right kind of people who can show me what to do, be with me, help me train to the point where I can carry that on myself. It's okay. So what we're suggesting is we're all at the first of the year. Whatever changes you might want to make, here's your opportunity that you certainly are welcome to come and check things out as far as Fit Life Fusion. You can start with the website, fitlifefusion.com. And you said that people get evaluated for no cost whatsoever.
Right.
The question is it a fit for you?
One thing that we believe can help absolutely anyone is our evaluation process. The 90-minute to 3-hour evaluation process where we're assessing things like the way that you walk, how your eyes move in team, we're assessing your balance, we're assessing coordination, and we can give you some very, very specific drills and exercises that will improve your movement on the spot. And if you just practice those things, whether you stay here and continue training with us at Fit Life Fusion, or whether you go to another gym, or whether you start your home workouts, whatever that might be, we're confident that if you practice these things, and we can show you how to incorporate it into your training, if you practice these things, you're going to be incredibly less susceptible to hurting yourself and far more set up for success.
We all know that we need to move more. And you're saying that you can help us figure out where our issues are, where we're strong, where we're not so strong, so that we can start moving more. And while we do this new movement and this new range of activity, whatever it might be, that we can do it successfully without injuring ourselves. Because the moment that somebody goes, I started working out and then I hurt myself. How often do you hear that? I hurt myself, so I stopped.
I hear it so often.
I bet you do.
It's so incredibly bothersome because I've heard people say, I got into this boot camp class or what have you. For 6 months, I was killing it. I was running and jumping and I lost 20 pounds. And then I did something stupid. I tore my meniscus and then I ended up having to go get surgery. But 3 months later, I was ready again. I got back in there and did it again. I gained the 20 pounds back, but then I went back because I knew that worked for me. I lost the 20 pounds again, but then I ended up having to get shoulder surgery because I overdid it again. This is the cycle that I find a lot of people in. And they'll find me when finally they've given up hope because they feel that their body just isn't designed for exercise anymore. Not true. The problem is you have some movement patterns that are causing friction in areas which eventually break down and then tear. That does not mean you're not designed for exercise. That means that the way you're moving right now needs to be addressed, and then you can do all of the things that you want to do. We may have to work you up to it a little bit, but you'd be surprised at how quickly you can move yourself up to it with some very simple movement drills, maybe dietary changes, simple stuff.
Bottom line is you're doing it wrong. There are ways to do it right where you don't have that outcome. If you're thinking of moving more for yourself for prevention or management of a disease condition, if it's just for your own nutrition and health, or for the fact that you've got kids and you want to make sure everybody in the family is doing this right, not sitting on the couch all the time, not sitting at your job all day, all of that is fine, but you need to counteract that with some movement, and it's not that hard to do. Maybe you should check into fitlifefusion.com. You have an evaluation process. It's not going to cost anything.
Go to the website, and right on the front page, there is a little video, and 3 of our star clients tell their story. Some of them have had pain issues. Some of them have had surgeries. They're doing things now that they said they haven't been able to do in 20 to 30 years. And that's where we feel our specialty really lies. You don't have to be banged up or broken in order to walk through our doors. But if you are dealing with certain things that you may have been dealing with for a long time, we are really good at helping people get out of pain and move well. And no matter what your goals are, you want to lose weight, move better, you want to have better endurance or better strength, you want to make sure that you're not going to get hurt, make sure you don't end up having another surgery, something like that. Improving your movement will help with all of that.
It's surprisingly simple. I'm getting up on my soapbox. I think movement is so important and it makes such a difference. I find this to be an exciting way to start the new year.
Well, I would gladly jump on top of that soapbox with you anytime. Anytime.
Come and join us anytime. It's Peter Pinto with Fit Life Fusion. Neurological evaluation with physical fitness. It's a wonderful combination. So if you're thinking of moving this year, and I would hope that you are, fitlifefusion.com. On our Talking Solutions Facebook page, you will find links and all the information. So glad you're here today for Talking Solutions.
Thanks for having me, Tara.
Talking Solutions is a production of the Community Relations Department here at Beasley Media Group, Las Vegas. Get more information on today's topic on our Talking Solutions page on Facebook, where you will also find links and a podcast of today's show. Thanks for listening, and have a great week.